Hi everybody, Russ and my Hammers 11. Hope you're all safe and well. If you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing, hitting the bell icon so you're made aware anytime I put new content on. As always, I'd like to thank our channel sponsors, Untuck It. Check them out in the description below. All their stores are open, Apu, now. They're all open now. So, you know, if you're in Westfield, London or Covent Garden, you can go and see the quality of the shirts already rather than do it online. Anyway, big supporter of the channel, so I really appreciate their time and effort. Today's guest, one of the BAME Hammers, it is Apu. How are you, man? How are you?
Mate, I'm fantastic. Thank you very much for having me on. This is the highlight of my year so far.
Oh, that's a bit. It's quite depressing because we're in December now. B, I appreciate it, but yeah, it's not there. But it's yeah, if it was like January and it was like January the 5th, I'd be like, yeah, fair enough, being in 2021. But
no, mate, listen, I'm excited. You've had some fantastic guests on so far, so I'm privileged to be in that company. Even though I guess end of the year I'm kind of like the last one you got to, but I understand it's all good.
No, we're literally halfway through. I think I want to do. My eventual goal was to do 500. We'll see how close we get to there, but it might end up being like petering out about 400, but 500, you know, it's just, so you know, we're halfway almost. So no, it's all good, man. How have you been in this little weird world we live in now?
Yeah, I mean, listen, it hasn't been easy just because business has dried right up, and I don't live with my kids, so trying to see them has been a little bit difficult. And also my boy, he's 13, he wants to become a footballer, so there's been some challenges around that. Only one of his trainings is classed as elite, and so that's dropped right off. And to be honest, at the moment, that's kind of my identity, is what I do for work and me throwing the kids around. And if I can't do that properly, who am I?
Yeah, no, it's so true, isn't it? It's so true. When you become a parent, even if you're obviously fortunate enough to live with them, or as you said, or you know, not live with them, but transport them all about, it is, isn't it? As soon as that little smog's been popped out, that's it. You're just now you've got a dependent, and it's weird, isn't it? It's a weird thing when you become a dad, I think. I sort of grow up overnight. I said no, maybe not. I mean, she's 8 now, so I still haven't. And to be fair, her due date was the playoff final, and I had a really good ticket that day. So obviously, I went to the playoff, and not much has changed since, bless it. But no, it's good, man. But you've been well, like health wise and stuff. You've been all right, mate?
Health wise, touch wood. All good.
Yeah, and obviously West Ham are keeping us entertained, so that's good, isn't it, at the moment?
They are. I'll be honest. When football stopped for the lockdown, I guess everything that we were at as a club, both on the pitch and off the pitch, etc., I was fine with it. And when they talked about restarting, I was thinking, is that really the most important thing to do? But I've grown to quite enjoy watching the matches without a crowd. I'll be honest. I don't know which way you go. I always listen to it without the fake sound effects, because everyone's got an opinion on football. So what better opportunity to hear what the players are shouting to each other, what the managers and coaches are saying, etc. So I quite enjoyed that. And we've done very well since lockdown, or since it started, etc. And can't knock it. It's kind of got me back interested and hooked again.
Yeah, I think so. And I think not only that, I just think obviously leading up to that, there was obviously, you know, there's been divisions and stuff amongst the fan base, you know, and things like that. And if anything, I think the lockdown period sort of pulled a lot of people together, because, you know, they couldn't go and see their team every Saturday, so they had to communicate more. And, you know, and obviously, you know, there's, you know, a 50-50 split, say, on the stadium and stuff like that. And, you know, I think everyone's dying to get back to London Stadium. So it's good news for London Stadium, because it's like, you know, everyone's like, I just want to get back now. I don't care if I don't like it. I want to get back and I want to see the boys. And it became
that thing you said about pulling together. So I've got a couple of West Ham WhatsApp groups, as I'm sure everyone has. And usually on a match day, if it's a home match, I'm a season ticket holder, so I'd be there. If it's an away game, if I'm around and I'm not pulled around by what my kids are doing, etc., I'm watching it on TV. But not sometimes I am, sometimes I'm not. But what I found is lockdown, no one's going anywhere. So all of a sudden, everyone's around, everyone's watching the game at the same time, and then every single match, we're all together, we're all watching it, all experiencing it live. Although some people have got streams, so they're like a minute behind, and etc. But
that's why I love jumping on, because obviously I'm at the state, or I have been for the last 14 games, where it is now. So obviously I jump on the 14 home games. So I like jumping on the YouTube streams of like Hammers chat or whatever, and because I'm about 2 minutes in front of everyone, because obviously then you had the time delay. So after there's been like a goal, and they go, oh Russ, oh God, they do. Oh, there's been a goal at London Stadium, but for who? You know, so I won't say who it's for. It's like goal. Or just a simple word, bugger. So obviously, like the Villa game on Monday, it was like, bugger, penalty. Hang on, VAR. No, it's been saved. No goal. It's like, all that type of stuff. I love it. I love just winding it all up. It's so funny. But I know it is weird, and I'm really excited for Saturday, just to have some fans in there. Just it's a start, isn't it, man? It's like it's going to be weird. It's going to be a weird atmosphere. We know that, but you've got to start somewhere, innit? You've got to start somewhere. So why not start for the game where we're 5th in the league and potentially could be 3rd for a couple of hours if we win?
Yeah, that's right. I mean, listen, it's fantastic to be playing Man United, and we're not thinking, can we beat Man United? We're thinking, can we go 3rd?
Yeah.
Wow,
yeah.
10 games
it's weird,
in,
isn't it? It's such a change in atmosphere, in perception, isn't it? And I think, the Moise Sy has got to take, so much credit for that, because he's just getting this. There's a real togetherness about the playing staff and the backroom staff, and I mean, the Villa game exemplified the backroom staff, all together, one in, all in, all kicking off, and I loved it. So funny. That's what it's all about, isn't it? It's just the togetherness, and we seem to have like players on the pitch who want to play for the club, and we seem to have options as well. Like that. Everyone's, are we going to start Haller or Antonio? I don't know. Rather than who's not injured, okay, we'll play them. It's actually options now, particularly after Villa, with Moyes going to that sort of, bringing 2 subs on at half time, and I think
also, if you think about the players that are guaranteed starters, and there are a few of them, none of them seem to have a special egos. I mean, you're talking about Rice, Souček, Kufau now, Ogbonna. None of they're all guaranteed starters. Their names are going to be on that first 11, but none of them are too big for their boots. None of them, you think, if things go their way, they're not going to get disruptive, etc. It's not like having, what's his name? I forgot. How can I forget his name? Marco. Not like having Marco or Payet or whoever. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I know what you mean. It just seems to get a good bunch of personalities there, isn't it? The only thing I worry about is that central bit. He says, is that the two that first names of the T sheet are Souček and Rice, really. And you're thinking, one of them gets injured. We haven't really got, Mark hasn't got 90 minutes in his legs, and that's the only thing. That's a typical West Ham response. Rather than we've got great players, we're doing well. It's like, oh well, we're gonna get injured, and that's it. We know the speed. That's what I've been saying. We know that speed bump's coming. We know it's coming, but just enjoy it while it lasts, isn't it? I'm not used to this level of attitude.
Having said that, I mean, normally we're the worst club in the league for injuries, and that's completely flipped on its head this year. So, and to be honest, that's what the discontent was about. A lot of it was about the depth of the squad, and have we got competition for places, etc. So we're lucky. Well, I say we're lucky. Moyes, you're right, has done a fantastic job. He's found a position, or he's found the best system for the players he's got at the club, and it's working. And in a couple of pockets, we've got some depth. Like if Fornals or Masuaku gets injured, we've got Ben Rama or Lanzini could come in and play that. Other positions, not so much so. So, fingers crossed.
I think you're right as well about being lucky as well, because I think you make your own luck as well. We've always been unlucky with injuries and VAR decisions and stuff like that. But it seems at the moment we seem to have. I'm a true believer in you make your own luck, and obviously we're playing well, and the luck does tend to go your way when you're playing well. And I mean, best laid plans. I mean, the best laid plan that Pellegrini had was to, not sign Adrian on a new contract. Get a couple of, get Roberto and get David Martin in, send the kids out on loan. Fabianski's number one, and that's perfect. That plan is a great idea, but then it backfired in his face and he got sacked, because it never worked. Yeah. Whereas here, Moyes has already said he wanted a small squad to work with, so they can all get game time and be competitive. And at the moment, we're not getting injuries in Touchwood, so it's working out. So yeah, if we had like 4 or 5 injuries, and everyone would be calling for his head, just because it's the West Ham way, isn't it? It's that's the thing. But no, long may it continue, and it's good to see. And obviously, how's everything with all the BAME Hammers? In terms of obviously you haven't been able to see each other much for a long time.
Listen, I've only ever met Lee, the chair. That's it.
Yeah.
Because I took myself onto the BAME Hammers because I didn't know anything about them, and then they launched in January, and I saw a couple of people having a rant on social media, and I was like, "What are these guys? What are they about, etc." So this is what I do. I reached out to Lee, found out what's going on, met with him at Westfield, and basically talked myself onto the committee. And basically the idea behind what we're trying to do is encourage more of the local community to go to games. I mean, there's a lot of Asians, a lot of black people that go already. There's a hell of a lot that don't. And there's lots of reasons. Some of it's historical. If you remember back in the 70s and the 80s when I started going, Green Street, everything would shut down, everything would be shuttered. And so you lost a generation there, and you lost their children as well. And then since then, obviously TV, the Premier League, etc., has taken over. And what do you see on TV? You see the top 6 clubs all the time. And so lots of fans have gone over to Liverpool and Man United, etc. So, we're just trying to encourage that. We had some ideas, but unfortunately for us, lockdown came. And so there's a lot we haven't managed to do. There's a few things we got done before lockdown hit, but it's quite interesting because of what other stuff I've been doing. I've been talking to Anwar, for instance, because he works for the FSA, the Fan Supporters Association, and so I've been linking with different fan groups around the country. And I don't know if you saw this week, the FSA, in conjunction with Facebook and Kick It Out, I think, and Sky launched that sort of 4 or 5 minute video about just saying, look, it's everyone's game. Let's take a stand and etc. So, I think that's another good thing about lockdown. There's lots you can complain about, but at the same time, people have done things and tried to create things and connect with people that they wouldn't have done otherwise.
Yeah, no, it's true. It's true. I mean, this channel is the exact antithesis of that. That's a long word for Friday. But it's true, because I mean that's the whole idea, was just connecting people together, with different stories about the club they love, and I think also, and not just obviously I do a lot of stuff with the Iron supporting food banks, and John there, they regularly are in connection with fans supporting food banks who are basically a big body a bit, and they talk to the Liverpool guys and the Newcastle guys, and they're all sharing food and dog food and clothing, and it's amazing. Like football fans, sometimes when they sort of lay down their swords, and they can really make a difference. And I mean, Anwar's we've had him on the channel, and he's a great guy, Anwar. And it's funny because like when we started interviewing him, he was all like, "Oh yes," his voice was all proper, like FSA. And by the end he got proper back to his like East End roots. He's like, all right, whatever. It's just like his transcension. And it was funny because I had his boss on, I had Danny on, who's his boss at Aldershot, and he was the same, all got prim and proper. And then the West Ham just crept in towards the end. And it's great what they're doing. The FSA, it's fantastic, some of the stuff that the FSA are doing. And I know they've been talking to obviously Hammers United and people like that as well, but no, it's good, man. It's good stuff. And obviously during lockdown we had all the Black Lives Matter and stuff as well. All that type of stuff came up. So in terms of the prominence of everything, and then they still take the knee every game now, don't they? And so it's the way to go, isn't it, man? Oh, funny. It's just the way to go. It's like it's just taken God knows how many years to get into this position. I
mean, listen, there's still lots of ways to go in lots of aspects. like for instance, the lack of black managers and coaches, and there are exclusions, Asians in football. I don't know if you know, but I also run a podcast around Asians in football. And so funny enough, I interviewed Anwar yesterday and told him I'm coming on here, and he told me he's been on here already. And to be honest, like the whole way through, he was just East End. He was East End Anwar all the way through. He told some great stories about Cole and Di Canio and stuff like that. So but at the same time, I think that's the thing with football. It's the national game in this country. It's the world game, and it does reflect society, and that's both in a bad way, but also in a great way too. I mean, you look at, I mentioned that book earlier on. I'll show it up.
Well, show it, because we didn't record then. So
where did we go? Right, Football's Black Pioneers by Bill Hearn, David Gleave, came out in around August, and they're telling the story of the first black footballer every single football club, and the stories are fascinating. And I don't know if you've heard of the Jack Leslie campaign, for instance. Yeah. So that was the black footballer who got picked for England back in the 30s or 40s or something. And then when the FA found out he was black, they dropped him. So that story got forgotten. So that someone launched a campaign to create a statue and stuff for him during lockdown, basically. And it's been fantastic. So interesting times. It's
interesting, and it's like, we've had guys from the Pride of Irons on here as well, obviously, and they're the same, they're the same boat, really, isn't it? And I think actually, I just think that's, and the great thing is, I mean, in terms of, as you said, you did the Asians in Football podcast, Pride of Irons do a podcast, and it's just all about creating this content for other people to, because like, I don't know how to explain it, but everyone's just a football fan, isn't it? You just, everyone's football fan, and it's just, and it's great. There's different content out there for people to listen to, particularly now, because well, I suppose not now, because are you in tier 2? Are you in a tier 2?
Where am I? I'm in Chad Relief at the moment. So that's tier 2. Yeah,
we're tier 2. So you're in tier 2. So I mean, until lockdown, I listened to all the podcasts, because it's just something to do, isn't it, or anything. But no, it's really important. I think we got the Rainbow Laces starts. I think that's soon. Rainbow Laces campaign's very soon. The Premier League. I'm pretty sure it might be next couple of weeks. But it's something that's been put on the agenda, and it should have been put on the agenda years ago. But things happen, things take time. Unfortunately, it takes people to things to be politicized and stuff like that for change to be made. But it's what it is, man, isn't it? We're getting terribly deep for a West Ham podcast. I like it. We're not talking about what's your favourite crisps. We're getting the hard hitting, cheese onion what was it? Pickled onion Monster Munch today. That's why I had my crisps. You had spicy noodles, I know. So, although you stopped sniffling there, so it's quite good. Right. So the first question, sniffling, yeah. So the first question, he says, 18 minutes in, is why West Ham, Apu? Why is that? Why is it your team, man?
I'd love to say it's because when I was 3 years old, back in 1975, my dad took me to the victory parade for the 75 FA Cup winning team. But I'll be honest, I've got no recollection of that whatsoever. Yeah. I was 3 years old, you know what I mean? But I pretty much spent most of my life in East London. And my first real memory of football is probably the 1980 FA Cup final. Because obviously back then there wasn't a lot of football around. I was living in a flat above some of the shops on Leytonstone High Road at the time. I went to Canal School, which is Leytonstone. Yep. And look, West Ham won. It was great feeling, and everyone around me supported West Ham. I can't remember if there were street foot parties, or is that just in my head? I don't know. Maybe I'm mixing up with Diana and Charles's wedding or the Silver Jubilee. I don't know. But it's been, I mean, listen, the other thing, before we leave being a little bit deep altogether, I'm brown, for those who haven't noticed, and growing up in...
Well, people might listen to the podcast. It might be listening to it on Spotify or Apple Podcasts or Google Podcasts. And so they might not know, although, Apu is your name, so you'd assume.
That's right. But, I'm Indian, and growing up in in the 70s in and around Stratford. It wasn't an easy place to live, and there's all sorts happened. And we had a very small family. When I say we had a very, very small family, it was just me, my mum and dad. My brother didn't come along for 10 years. And we moved around a lot. So I didn't really have, I wasn't settled. I didn't have a place, didn't have a group of friends to call my own, kept on moving about. And the only thing that kind of gave me an identity was being a West Ham fan, because we were all moving all around East London. And that was the one consistent, or the one constant wherever I go. I'm a West Ham fan, and you know what it's like. Football, it's a way of talking to anyone and everyone.
Yeah.
And as you get slightly older, then you start swapping Panini stickers in the back of the class and whatever. And so that's it. So sometimes for me, I'll be honest, supporting West Ham gets a little bit deep because it is wrapped up in my identity completely. So, because that's how I fitted in when I was at primary school, and it was sort of last year of primary before we moved to Ilford and stayed put, if you like.
Yeah, I mean that makes perfect sense, and I think you're right. It is, and for some people, it's more of a I don't know. It's more internalized than others, I think, and I mean, you know, it is the great leveler, isn't it? Football. It's the way you can have a conversation with anyone in the world. I mean, my wife hates it when I'm on holiday because literally my suitcase is full of West Ham tops. And if there's a West Ham fan somewhere around the pool, I know,
which there is.
Yeah, which it always is in like Dubai or or wherever. There, I'll end up talking to them. And then it's like, oh, what do you know? My wife's the same with crazy people. If there's a crazy person on the train, obviously before we could go on the train without masks and stuff, they'd end up always talking to my wife, and she'd always listen to them. But yeah, it's a great leveler, isn't it? And you just meet people. And I mean, it's like the other. I mean, you're in Chadwell Heath, I'm in Hornchurch. You know, I literally the other day I went to get my car serviced. So when I went to the garage, I was in a West Ham top. The guy was literally, oh, West Ham. We chatted about 40 minutes. The mechanic. I literally got out of the car. There's no problem. Everything's sorted. Drove around to my house. Got out of the car. Literally some old bloke. This was like in January. This was in the the summer transfer. And I got out of the car, and this bloke shouted out. This old guy didn't even bother stopping. Wasn't looking at me. Just shouted out. We still outside, no one, have we? And carried on walking. Didn't even break a stride. Do you know what I mean? But I love it, and that's why I love like this channel, because, to be fair, I've at that 250 guests. I've maybe met 10 of them, maybe 15 people, and now it's like, you sit there and chat for an hour, and you go, God, an hour's gone, and it's like, everyone knows each other, and because it's the leveler, isn't it? It doesn't matter if you're, I don't know, like, a 15-year-old kid or an 80-year-old man. I've interviewed everyone in between. You can talk about West Ham to the cows have gone home, and it's just great, isn't it? It's great, and we're just unique fans. We are just unique. I know people say it, but it is. It's a unique bunch of guys. We are. When we interview ex-players and stuff, and they all talk about us as a fan group and how special we are. And it's like the other night we did a thing with Trevor Sinclair, like a Trevor Sinclair night, and bless him. I text him like, oh, do you want to, send me a little video? Oh, come on. Okay, Trev just turns up, and but they're all like that. They're all like all the ex-players. They love the club and they love the fans, and been very fortunate to interview a lot of them. But it's West Ham, man. It's it's, as you said, it's a way of life. Some people, it's more. We had Peter Singh on, and he was really open about West Ham, and basically it saved him really mentally. He wasn't going anywhere, and West Ham was the one like you said, West Ham was the one consistent. You could drop into a company. That's the thing that was keeping him on his sanity, and that got very deep. That was a very deep one as well. Got into mental health discussions and everything. But why not? Why not? It's West Ham. It's just part of everyone's life. But no, it's good, man. I love it. And it's nice that, and I think it's great. Like just the fact that it doesn't matter where you went, you could start a conversation about West Ham and Panini stickers, and takes us back, man. Takes us back. That's why I love doing this show. Anyway, let's talk about your Hammers 11. Apu, let's talk about that now. If I'm led to believe, it's somewhat you've taken somewhat inspiration from that book. you were talking about?
I have. I mean, first of all, a couple of months back, I can't remember when, I put my first West Ham 11 together, and I thought, you know what? There's not. I mean, I've got some great players in there: Julian Dix, Mark Ward, Joe Cole, and I was thinking, but it's no different from anyone else's. And then I tried a couple of variations. Like I said, I've been waiting for the call. And then in the last couple of weeks, there's a couple of things happened. Like I said, I interviewed the authors of that book for my podcast, because I'd love to do, or for someone to do a similar book on Asians in football. But that's not going to happen for probably 50, 60 years. Do you know what I mean? But
yeah.
Like I said, it's such a great book for to do that. And then other things like the Anton Ferdinand documentary, we're talking about that. What else was going on? Then like I said, Black History Month just happened, etc. And we got into conversation on the BAME Hammers WhatsApp group, and all of a sudden I just thought, yeah, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to do a black West Ham 11 and just see where I get with that. And we had great fun on that evening, like everyone jumping in, bringing out names left, right, and centre. But we're thinking, but we didn't see him at his best, or he only played a handful of games, and they're just fantastic. So before we start, I'll ask you, do you know who our very first black player was?
Oh, now I'm going to look like an idiot. Was it John Charles?
No.
It
was not John Charles. John Charles was the first black. What was he? The first black? He was the first black captain for at any level for a team to win a domestic competition. So the youth team won the FA Cup, and he was captain of that. He was also the first black player at any level to represent England. So again, that was probably under 21, I think it was.
Yeah, fantastic.
But he wasn't our first black player. That was, according to this book, and I've also got one of these which I dug out of the loft.
Yeah,
I must have got like 20 odd years ago. Who's with West Ham? Chap called Fred Corbett back in 1899.
Wow.
And that book, the history book, doesn't even mention that he's black, and that's one of the things when we interviewed the authors. Like, how the hell do you know? Can you imagine looking at a black and white photo and trying to figure it out and stuff? And I don't know. Listen,
Corbett.
If anyone wants a really cool Christmas book, I'm not on commission. But that's fantastic. It really is. There's great stories in there. But anyway,
I know a couple of guys who really like that. Anyway, gone. Yeah. So Fred Corbett.
Fred Corbett was he was our first ever black player back in 1899.
That's amazing. But I think 1899 as well. It's like, that's impressive when you think about it. In terms of, I mean, I haven't read the book, so I don't know how then the time frame was for the other players in terms of their pioneers.
1895 for I think Sheffield United or something.
Oh, okay.
So very close. Yeah,
very close.
Yeah. I might as well just tell you. So just talking about Asians in football as well. The very first Asian in football, professional, was a chap called John Cother for Watford in 1898.
Wow.
Yeah. But there you go.
There you go. It's educational as well as we're educating people. I never knew that. That's really interesting. Really interesting.
There's nothing else interesting.
Because Anwar was the first captain, top flight captain, Asian top flight captain.
He was actually. He was first Asian to captain again a top flight team of any level to win something. That was the 1990 FA Youth Cup.
Yeah,
Joe Cole, Michael Carrick, etc. First Asian to captain in the football pyramids, or in the professional in the EFL. And also at the moment he's the highest ranking Asian coach. He's
really
in the National League. Yeah, so
that's crazy though, because it's all the shots. The National League.
Yeah,
that's crazy, isn't it? But yeah, interesting. Very exciting. We're all learning something. We're all learning. It's a cathartic process. This episode. So we're going to go for a black West Ham 11. I like it. Now I'm gonna put a caveat on there because I'm sure you've already done it, but I want to pick players that you've been of your like you've seen of that 11. Is that all right?
Yeah. No, that's fine.
I don't need to throw a John Charles in because
Not that old.
I don't think you're that old. We've had John Charles. I mean, he's been picked. Jackie Hughes, a few guys picked him, who were obviously fortunate around to see him play, and him as a person. But okie dokie. Right, let me get my little things ready. Okay, so who's in goal? Right, go on. Let me think. I can think of two.
Okay.
Now I think you're going to pick Shaka Hislop, but you might pick Bernard Lamar.
Okay. Or I might go for David James.
Or David James, fucking hell. Yeah. I love it. Such a fucking idiot sometimes. You gone for J-Mo?
I have gone for J-Mo. And the reason for that, like I said, my boy wants to become a footballer. He's a goalkeeper.
Yeah.
And in the last couple of years, we've kind of done a deep dive into goalkeeping. We've listened to every single podcast, watched videos, read things. Like I said, he's training. One of his training is classed as elite. The other trainings are both done by ex-pros. So we've kind of got an idea about goalkeeping. And I think J-Mo gets quite a bad rep because he had that Calamity James nickname. And something I always argue about was, because I've seen the stats, what David James used to do was he would go for everything. And when I say he'd go for everything, he went for 3 times as many crosses on average as the next goalkeeper in the Premier League. Now, when you go for that many, you're going to drop the odd one.
High percentage, yeah.
Right? And then obviously it's a goalkeeper. So once you make a mistake, if it leads to a goal, you look like the fall guy. But if you think about how many he would have stopped, how many chances he would have stopped by being so aggressive, I think he really was an underrated keeper for us. And I think he was an underrated keeper just generally in England anyway. So
I know she said once and you're totally right. Once you have a couple of slips, then that's your tag, isn't it? It's like Joe Hart. Joe Hart was never given a chance at any club he went to after he played that in England.
Rob Green,
Rob Green as well. Exactly, yeah, Rob Green. And he was a one slip, but he was just so consistent across so many years for us. But yeah, J-Mo. And sometimes I think I forget that Davy James played for us. Do you know what I mean? He's always, I don't know.
I think everyone's trying to forget that season anyway.
Yeah, well, and that season itself probably wasn't great, but yeah, I could have picked out. You could have picked Darren Randolph as well.
I do like Randolph. I do really like him.
And it's good to see you got the boy Trott what's the other guy's name? The other keeper, the young lad.
Yeah, I know who you mean, but no,
I'm saying Ngakia, but it's not Ngakia, but it's spelled very similar. But yeah, no, it's good shout. All right, we'll put J-Mo in. Right, go on. You go. You go as you got them written down, Apu.
Okay. Right, fair enough. I'll go with my left back next. I'm going for George Parris.
Oh, Georgie Parris. What a player.
Because I think I started, look, I've been to the odd game in the 70s and in the 80s when I got to secondary school. That's when I discovered some mates who were going week in, week out to West Ham. And we're also that generation that used to go to Leyton Orient quite often on the game.
Yeah, that's what I used to do as well, yeah.
When we went. So yeah, the top I've got on now, I don't know if you can see, it's the top I associate with players like Mark Ward and stuff like that, who's one of my favourite players. But yeah, around that time, George Parris, I don't think I thought of him as a black player specifically, but he gave everything, and that's what I remember about him. So yeah, definitely one of my favourite left-sided players that I've seen.
And he was one of those players you could put in any position and he'd put a shift in. In it, he played pretty much. I think I started watching him properly sort of early 90s, and he was central midfielder. I want to say he played quite a few games there, and he played left back. He played, you could have put him between the sticks and have a go. At least he'd have a go with it. And players like that are just West Ham fans take to their hearts, isn't it? Just have a go and put it all out on the pitch and don't leave anything on the changing rooms afterwards. But top guy. All right, okay, Georgie P's in. Who's next, Apu?
Cool. All right, so I've done this as the same formation we're using at the moment. So I've got 3 centre backs.
Yeah.
The first one I'm going to go with is Ogbonna.
Yeah.
We had a vote last year for the BAME Hammers. We polled our members and had Hammer of the Year, and Ogbonna got it by 1 from Antonio and Rice, who
Wow.
were both up there. Because I just thought he's been, I mean, the reason I've chosen him is I think he's been superb for several seasons now. Even the season before, when things weren't going so great, he was Mr. Consistent. He was the best out of a bad bunch for our defence all the way through. And he has been, like I said, since that last couple of seasons at the Bowling. So, and I think in future, we'll look back at him as one of our better centre backs.
Definitely, and he's just been nominated one of the shortlists for the Player of the Month in November.
Yep.
So well deserved, and he has. He's just been immense, and that's that group of three anyway. Them, Balbuena, him, and Diop. It seems always like one of them gets injured or something, and then the other two hit a really good form, and then the other person can't get in, and so there's always two out of those three are playing well, and I think obviously Balbuena and Oggy are playing well, so Diop hasn't really got a look in at the moment. When one of them makes a mistake, he'll be back in, and then hopefully they'll play well. And if it's good, it's competition, isn't it? And that's what we want. There's only a few people whose first name is on the team sheet is definitely each week, but yeah. All right, I'll put Oggy in. Who's next, man?
Fine. I was seriously considering Anton for a couple of goals. There's the Tottenham goal. There's that superb volley that he scored against Fulham, was it?
Yeah.
Yeah. But I don't know. I mean, listen, my memories of Anton is I can't remember if maybe it was unfair comparisons with Rio. So maybe, I don't know. And so I feel a little bit bad, especially because I had this documentary last week and stuff. But instead, I'm going to go with another current player, Winston Reid.
Yeah. Oh, Reid. It's funny to me when you talk of him being a current player. Do you know what I mean? Just because we haven't seen him for so long, and he's been playing in America. But I mean, he's been a fantastic servant for us. No doubt.
I mean, before his injuries, the last season or two at the Bowling, he was immense. Even I think the first season at Stratford, if I remember rightly, he was just so aggressive, and he'd go for everything, and he got in front of defenders so often, and pitched him with the odd goal, like the goal against Man United and stuff like that, etc. So it's a shame that I guess the beginning of his career and the end of his West Ham career were a little bit for different reasons. I think we brought him as a right back, didn't we, initially?
We signed him.
Or did he get played a right back? I can't remember.
I think, I mean, I vaguely remember that, but obviously he wasn't great when he first signed for us. And we went down, didn't we? And then he became the player in the Championship, and you never know. I think his loan spell with Sporting Kansas is up in January, so who knows?
Yeah.
Who knows?
Maybe, although he wouldn't get into the current team, so
wouldn't get into the team. No, that's the trouble. And don't forget, we've got Craig Dawson as well on loan. So don't forget,
of course,
everyone forgets about Craig Dawson. But yeah, so though I think that might be why we got him on loan rather than bought him, to be honest, because I think we Winnie back. But anyway, right, okay, we'll put Oggy in, we'll put Winnie. Who's the third in that three then?
Rio.
Yeah, find him. Rolls Royce Rio.
Yeah. I mean, I'll be honest, I'm not sure that we ever saw. There's a couple of things actually. I don't think we saw the best of him, because when he went to Leeds, especially when he was at Man United, he fulfilled his potential as a defender. Having said that, I was always, I guess, a little bit disappointed because that he didn't travel out with the ball as much as I think we saw the glimpses of that. We knew he had the capability, but so I'm it's a little bit frustrating in that sense that we never saw that he was never as good as. No, that's wrong. I was going to say he wasn't as good as he could have been. He probably was, but he could have been even better.
Definitely. And I think he progressed, but I think even better in some respects. But I think actually by going to like a Man United, he lost a lot more of that ball playing side. At Leeds, he did it quite a bit. But when he went to Man United, it's almost like Ferguson knocked that out of him. And he would have been, I think, hindsight's a great thing. But, if he hadn't had lost, not knocked it out, but had done it more often, as you said, but across his career, he would have been put in the same light as the Baraces of this world, because he was that good. And he could have played any position on that pitch. I think he played midfield. I think he came as a right wing back, I think, to start with. And and it's funny with all that sort of crop of players that came through. Rio's the only one, and Joe to some extent, that I still think are West Ham boys. Do you know what I mean? I still think of Rio as a West Ham boy. I don't see it at Frank, Michael Carrick to some extent, but Rio I always see he's still being a West Ham boy. You know, under his Man United top, he had like a West Ham vest on or something. You know, just maybe because of his brother. And I mean, we've had Anton on, and Anton's spoke very highly of obviously his brother. And we spoke about that as well. I spoke about, you know, I didn't really bring it up, but he spoke about, you know, living in the shadows, so to speak, of your brother when you play the same position. Your surname's the same. You look very similar. He struggled, I think, with that. And but the players around like Joe and stuff, they were brilliant with him. Put his arm around him and said, you know, you're your own man and stuff. And but Rio's top guy, top guy, and going to be a dad again soon.
Okay, good for him.
Good for him. Right, we'll put Mr. Ferdinand in. Right, that's your back three. So who's going to be your Vladimir Soufal? He likes to call himself Vladimir Soufal.
Soufal, right back. I was seriously toying with Glenn Johnson, but he only played a handful of games for us. I'll be honest, that summer when he left, I was probably more upset about him rather than anyone else, including Joe Cole, who is probably the greatest homegrown player I've ever seen by a country mile. Just because I thought this is one for the future. I thought the one good thing to come out of that season is Glenn Johnson, and at least he's a homegrown boy, and he'll be with us for at least a couple more years. And like 10 games later, or 15 games, whatever it was, he's gone. It was like,
it was that period, wasn't it, where you saw anyone who came on who was good, you saw, oh, he's got in 6 months. You know, he's got in 6 months. He's got in 6 months, and although we're starting to get that because we've got. I mean, you know, towards the end of last year, obviously we had Ngakia, didn't we? And it was like, he was good, and then obviously that all happened. He's doing well at Watford, isn't he? Same as then.
Yeah, he is. Listen, the way I see it, look, he went for first team football.
Yeah, he did.
And if he's getting it, which he is, then good for him.
Yeah.
But you're right. I forgot about Ngakia. I did like him. But I've gone for, and this will probably be controversial with him himself, is Antonio.
Yeah, well, he played there. He played fucking everywhere else, didn't it? So you might as well put him there. There we get to. Where is he? Where is old Michail? There he is. Yeah. Good old Slav put him there, didn't he?
Yeah, I mean, listen, he wasn't as effective at win back as I think we all thought he could or should be. But having said that, I mean, if this was a real team, you'd want someone like Antonio on the pitch with you. And I mean, look, he's played all over the front for us, and he's been very, very effective in his own particular way. But since lockdown, all of a sudden, he's just become such a fantastic striker. And and if it wasn't for age, should be knocking on that.
Oh, easily, yeah. Even for like I mean, there's no one like him in there. Apart from Traore, but there's no one English like him in terms of the sheer power and pace he's got and unpredictability. You know, he doesn't know what he's doing. So how Harry Maguire know what he's doing on Saturday? You know what I mean? So, and I just think he's and I don't know what it is, you know, but because he's always had it, isn't it? He's always had that sort of that bit where he's, you know, that sort of purple patch, and then he always gets injured for like 3 months, and he comes back, and obviously touch wood, he had a slight injury for a couple of games, but I think that's because he's been not getting injured. He's been, and I think it's almost like because he's playing that sort of, and I coin it. It's my phrase is called he's been Moyesified, sort of Moyesification. So, and because he's like this new central striker, he can't do his headless chicken dancing, running about everywhere anymore because he's on his own. So he's being more selective of why he's running, and maybe that's saved his old hamstrings a bit. I don't know, but Moyes did the same thing with Arnautovic and turned him into a striker, didn't he? And he likes wingers up front, doesn't he? By the looks of it, but Antonio, top man, top fella, lovely guy. You know, crashed his car with his Lamborghini with a snowman out. That made my Christmas last year, to be honest. I mean, football's quite boring. You know, there's I don't think there's any sort of personalities like there were back in the day with Monks and Bish and people like that. But yeah, that was quite funny. Well, probably not funny for the house. that he crashed in.
That's a good idea for a future West Ham 11 for someone, a personality 11.
Well, we did a Graham Howlett from These Other Brown did the locked up 11, and it was 11 of people who are the wrong side of the law, and there was someone there, and so did Longers as well. But yeah, personality 11, just like that'd be quite interesting. You have like Martin Allen and John Monco in the middle, and Razor in the centre backs. That'd be good fun actually. Next person comes on. There we go. I sometimes give people ideas, but that'd be a good one. Personality 11, it'd be a good one. Right, Antonio is in the right wing back.
Cool. Right. Oh, I was getting the wrong one. Right, okay. Central midfield. I'm going to go with Alex Song.
Now, he was a player, weren't he? He was a proper baller, Alex Song was.
There were times when he was world class. After Payet, he's probably the best player I've seen in the last 10, 15 years in a West Ham shirt. He was immense. I mean, there are times against Man City, against Liverpool as well, where he just looked like it was a one-man team, or we were a one-man team.
Yeah.
And I know him and Payet played a couple of games together, but if we'd seen both of them at their West Ham best, can you imagine?
Yeah, they did it. Was it a training? I want to think it was a training game. I remember there was this goal that they scored where they must have passed about 20 times to each other, and someone put it on YouTube. It was like a training game, and friendly, and you're like, oh my god, this is the. And I remember actually when we were going to sign him, because we turned up to the ground, we had like our pre-match meeting, and we were told that we were signing Alex Song on the pitch before kickoff, but we can't tell anyone. It was like a secret. They like hushed, like really weird. They sort of hushed him in with it was like real hush thing. And he was brilliant. He's back playing. I think he's playing for a Middle East team or something like that. I saw his Instagram the other day. He was brilliant.
I don't think he's even that old at the moment. I think he's only 32, 33. So.
No, I don't think so. We'll have a look when we chat. But I don't think he's very old at all. But I know he was, because on his Instagram he was back in, I don't know where he was originally born, but he was back in maybe back in Cameroon or something like that, and like he was like playing football with kids, and now he's just like he's playing for, who's he playing for? Altar Solar 7. There we go.
Okay.
And they play in the they played. Who are they? So Altar. I don't know this car. Who's his team? They play in the. Oh God, I can't pronounce. I think it might be an Ethiopian league or something like that. The Djibouti Premier League.
Right. Okay.
So we've all learned something today. But yeah. So, but no, he's great, and obviously, cousin of Rigobert Song, who didn't get in your team, I noticed in central defence.
Well, no, we still got some. No, we didn't. That's what I'm saying. When we had that chat in the BAME Hammers group. I think we had to clarify for a couple of people that it'd be Alex Song and not Rigobert Song.
Yeah.
So, listen, we've also had some poor players of all sorts, but there was Song, Kamara, etc. Players that not getting.
I remember going to. It must have been Filbert Street, and they were both making their debuts. Oh my God! He's like, oh fuck you now, Rigobert Song and Titi Kamara. I was like, oh bless him. Oh dear, yeah. But Rigobert Song, he was all right, wasn't he? He was all right. But yeah, we'll put Alex in, the better cousin. Right, who's next now, man?
Right, Paul Ince.
Oh yeah, he got defo, Ince. I mean, he was one of those players. I mean, I think he's one of those ones where I think it's a bit like his reputation goes before him. I've got to type it in. Obviously, he hasn't been appeared that much. But yeah, when he played for West Ham, when you talk to players, people who'd seen him play and stuff, he was brilliant.
Yeah,
he's a great player, wasn't he? A fantastic player. Just unfortunately, what happened afterwards. But even then,
Yeah, listen, it's a real shame, and I think. Listen, he was very good for us.
Yeah.
He was fantastic. I mean, the highlights was probably going to be that 4-1 against Liverpool where he scored. Was it 2 or 3? It was 2.
He scored 2, I think, yeah.
Yeah. But there were other games he had. But then, again, he's one of those players that we've seen the best of him elsewhere.
Yeah.
So there are times when he was in that. Listen, I don't like Man United at all, but there are times that Man United team that he was in, the one-touch passing and stuff that they were doing, and like wow. And obviously he had great England career and everything. But yeah, he was a very good player, and yeah, I think in a real team he'd hold that midfield together.
Yeah, exactly. And I think someone who else we picked him, they were talking about him and his relationship with John Law and stuff. And almost like he was a son to Paul, and yeah, it's one of those things where, yeah, I think it's like nowadays with Jermaine, and when Jermaine left and then he came out and apologised. Paul never came out and apologised for that, and I think that's why people still have this sort of hatred.
Okay, I didn't know that. I know he's explained what happened and stuff like that. But I think if he hasn't apologised, he's been contrite and stuff about that. He hasn't.
Right, yeah.
It's not
no, but I think it's probably where you have a situation where I think it's the way yeah. I mean, he could well have, but I'm not aware of. He may well have done it in the press. You think after so many years, someone would have tied him down to an interview to talk about it. Oh, maybe I could be the man. Maybe I can break him. I don't know, but I've seen loads of clips of him. I wasn't around to see him play for West Ham, but. He was just athletic. He was strong. He was quick. He was a great player. As you said, I saw that Liverpool game.
As I know, Cole and Carrick have done that as well. But as a youngster, to be playing central midfield in the top position and holding your own against some of, well, maybe not the world's best players at the time, but definitely the country's best players at the time.
Yeah.
A lot of mental strength, and he's shown that with his career afterwards as well.
Definitely. I mean, obviously, in a fantastic career over in Italy as well, Ince and stuff.
Yeah.
Great player. Okay, right. All right, Ince's in. Who's next?
Right. I'm going for my forwards now, and I'm going to go with Trevor Sinclair.
Friend of the show. I love Trevor Sinclair.
Yeah, Trevor Sinclair, fantastic player. I mean, he scored some great goals for us. Is that scissors kick? I mean, I was delighted when we got him because he kind of when QPR got relegated, he kind of become the forgotten man a little bit. And then we re-signed him. I was there at the game. I think it was Tottenham. He made his debut, and I'm pretty confident I was the first person to cheer because as soon as he shot, I saw it going in, so I stood up. So I'm pretty sure I cheered before anybody else did for that game. But him and Di Canio, they connected so well. It was and who else got into the England team at the time? I think actually I can't remember now. There's 3 players from that team that got into the England squad, didn't they, for the World Cup?
Eventually. I mean, because he got into that. He managed to get into the 2002 one, didn't he? And I mean, he was just, and it was like that time where obviously you got to think like Di Canio was sort of relatively on the football heap at the moment because he was like he'd push over a referee, and as I said, Trevor was the forgotten man. We look at transfer deals. I think it was 2.7 million plus Roland and Dowie. It's like, hello, that's one of the best transfers Harry ever did, and it's great because you've had him on the channel a couple of times. I said he popped on the live stream yesterday, but when we were talking to him originally about West Ham, he was so humble. He was like, I turned up the first day. I didn't think I was going to, and I was thinking, I'm a squad player. What? Because I didn't think I was going to get in the first team. That's how, because he was like, I was at QPR. I was my confidence was really low. Jerry Francis had left. Some of my mates had left. We'd been relegated, and I was like, and we resurrected his career, and we did the same thing to Paolo at that time. And he knows that, and so does Paolo. I think that's why they're so like passionate about West Ham. He's just I haven't got enough superlatives to talk about Trevor Sinclair as a person because he's just a lovely human being who I've got to know very, very well over the last couple of months and do anything for you, despite the fact that we've never physically met each other. And he was just a fantastic player. And he reminds me, and I think that's why, because Trevor Sinclair, that period, it just reminds me of when I used to go football properly with my granddad, and literally I can close my eyes and see it because he was almost blind, bless him. And I don't know how he drove. I don't know how he managed to get, he could barely see, but he was sitting on the front row of Centenary Upper, and you'd look at the game, and anything that was done good, anything that was done well by a West Ham player who was black was Trevor Sinclair. Could have been Shaka, could have been David James, it could have been anyone. Just the fact, no, bloody Sinclair, only player on the pitch there is, and I have this personal affiliation with Trevor Sinclair, so I'm very glad that he's in the team. And also, we'll get a retweet because he's in it now. So there we go. Because that's the one I put on the thing. So there we go. Trevor Sinclair, God bless him. Okie doke. Who's next, man?
Right, a little bit stretching the definition of black, but I don't know what that is anyway. Payet.
Yeah. That's yeah, isn't it?
He's from where's he from? Reunion Islands, and
yeah.
So I've looked into it. I'm not really sure what his actual ethnicity is beyond Reunion Islands, because they're made up of people that some are from Africa, some are from India and Sri Lanka, that kind of area. So
well, he's the way and also the way he's got Dimitri as well. The name itself. He seems. I think he's a bit of a hodgepodge of different nationalities and ethnicities by the looks of it. Yeah. Yes, as you said, it's in the Indian Ocean, isn't it? The Reunion Islands and stuff. And so,
right. Yeah.
Check out my geography. But yes, anyway, go on, carry on, man. Talk about how great Payet was.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's what you got to do. That's my memory. It isn't how he left or anything like that. It's that, especially that first season and some of the goals. It wasn't even just the goals he scored. It's the effect he had on the team. It was the confidence with which he tried stuff. Do you remember that time against Man City? I think it was our right back that we signed, the one that went to Norwich. I think they did this thing where they passed across the pitch to each other.
Sam Byron.
Yeah, that's Byron. It. And yeah, that's right. And they just did I think 3 or 4 crossfield passes to each other, and maybe I'm confusing memories, but then at the end, I think Payet did a couple of flicks and tried an outrageous shot from an impossible angle. But it was one of those players that got you off your feet. And yeah, listen, some of his goals, that free kick against Palace, which is just amazing, wasn't it? I mean, I don't think Palace, or I don't think any Premier League team has ever had as many players in a wall as Palace did. It's like 9 players in the wall. Although, controversially, I tell you what I do think. I think that was our second best free kick of that season. I think our best free kick was Valencia against, I think it was Bournemouth. It's from an angle, and he came at it with the outside of his foot, and he just swerved it in.
Yeah.
And I thought that was outrageous, yeah. But there you go. Anyway, Payet, listen, my kids, I think I can't remember how old they were at the time, so they were little toddlers, or maybe they're a bit older, but the amount of times I used to get them singing in the car the We've Got Payet song.
That's my daughter, yeah.
So, and like I said, it was that final season at the Bowling, which was so special anyway. And to have that player playing for us, it was, yeah.
He made it. He made that season, didn't it, what it was? It wouldn't have been the same season without Dimitri Payet. And that's what I remember of him. And unfortunately, you take the rough with the smooth when you sign those types of players, those mercurial players, those Payets and Artovic's, Di Canios. They can throw their toys out of the pram. And he came to us exactly the same way he left us. So what do we expect? He's not going to be a changed man after 2 years. But no, best technical player ever saw at West Ham by far, in my opinion. But anyway, we'll put Dimitri Payet. Who's next, man? Go on.
Cool. My final player, my forward. And I'm going to go for this player based on half a season. Does that tell you who it is?
Oh, let me just put in. Let me think of someone. Midu.
I don't think
it's Black 11. Sorry, that's
Mike. Go on. I was going to say Mike Small.
Mike Small.
Like I said, just based on that half season where he was just outstanding. He was a big lump. I can't remember exactly how he was, but his footwork was exceptional. It was beyond that cliche of good feet for a big man. It was really, really good. He could dribble, he could shoot, he could do everything. And I said, for half a season, I'm thinking, have we got such a good player? What's going on? When's he going to leave us? And then I'll be honest, I can't remember what happened. I know the goals fell off a little bit, but listen, for that half a season, he gave us so much joy, so many goals, etc. So yeah, I've gone for Mike Small.
Yeah, why not? Give Mike Small a run out. That's the thing. And that's what I like about these shows, because you're like, we get all these different players come up. I think that's probably the first time Mike's come up, I think. So brilliant. Why not? I mean, he played, 50, 60 games, I reckon, for us probably. He scored a fair few goals, and he was just yeah, it's at that period, sort of early 90s, wasn't he? He was a brute of a man. Absolute brute of a man. But that's cool, man. I love that. That's good. Good old Mike Small. How old is Mike Small? Mike Small he's 58.
Oh, he's 58, okay.
There we go. God bless him. What birthplace of Birmingham, if anyone is interested. Anyway, we like to educate in this thing. Apu, man, it's been lovely chatting to you. As I said, literally an hour. It's always an hour now. Flies by without even thinking about it. But it's been really good, man. Thank you so much for your time. I really, really appreciate it. And obviously, thanks everyone for listening or watching on YouTube, or be listening to it on Spotify, Podcasty, whatever it is. Give it a like, give it a share. And from myself and Apu, take care, everyone. Stay safe. Wash those hands. Come on, you irons, and we'll see you again very, very soon. Take care, everyone. Much love. Bye-bye.
The camera.